Also planned to say, we have no evidence of cyber manipulation of election infrastructure intended to alter results. Here's the bottom line. What people need to know is Obama's intel community was about to give Obama a presidential daily brief that totally dismissed, downplayed, poo-pooed, choose your word, the notion that Russia had meaningfully interfered in the 2016 presidential election.
Fox News alert, the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, releasing a bombshell report today that shows a conspiracy by a sitting president, Barack Obama, and his intel agencies to sabotage the president-elect, Donald Trump, brainwash the electorate, and undermine the...
Once hailed as a beacon of hope, he now stands in the shadow of his own making. Beneath the polished speeches and carefully staged moments, something far more unsettling is breaking through. As Megyn Kelly and Jesse Waters peel back the layers, the flawless facade starts to decay. The Netflix sheen dulls, the podcast platitudes ring hollow, and the contradictions drown out the applause. This isn't mere criticism, it's an unmasking. And when the mask falls, what's revealed could shatter everything you thought you knew.
17 was set to downplay Russian interference in the 16 election. And then, after a meeting with Obama and the top intelligence community officials, or at Obama's direction at least, the intelligence community did a complete 180 and played up Russian interference.
Democrats spent the last 2 decades calling men toxic and shipping their jobs overseas, and now they're asking, where did all the men go? Obama's trying to save the party he destroyed, so he's on a manhunt. But there's one problem. The brothers don't listen to him anymore, so he's trying to transition boys into girls. Barack's got his own rules for men, but these are the rules that made men leave the party in the first.
Didn't even need a warm-up lap or eyes, practically rolled into another time zone the second Obama's latest Russia collusion subplot hit the news cycle. He's not boiling yet, but you can hear the water start to bubble. The one-time champion of hope and change now feels more like vague and evasive. Jesse Waters leaned in like a TV detective, mentally pinning red string to a conspiracy board. Their faces said it all, not shock, but the weary disbelief of people watching a former president swan dive off the credibility.
Michelle's outshining him. She's a big Netflix star, best-selling author, and now she's a fruit juice tycoon. And he's just left starved for attention, just the way Michelle likes it.
We had your wife Michelle on the show, and she had mentioned that for about 10 years of the marriage, she really didn't like you.
Oh, man.
So asking for a friend, how do you get back in good graces? Again, for a friend. You got a pen, so I take notes.
Let me just say this. It sure helps to be out of the White House. And to have a little...
Not kid ourselves, the Obama mystique is splintering like brittle glass. He once patented cool, but lately he's the human equivalent of a glitchy Spotify playlist. Repetitive, irritating, and forever queuing up a comeback nobody requested. He dropped into Martha's Vineyard as if he were still gliding in on air. Force 1. But now, he's surfing a tide of awkward press hits, eyebrow-raising endorsements, and podcast sound bites so over-rehearsed they could pass for AI generated from recycled campaign speeches.
Let's go back to December of 2016. Barack Obama's president, but Trump has won and is going to be taking over as president in January. And they planned, the intel officials under Barack Obama planned, a lot of this is from Racket News, which everybody should read directly, Matt's group. Intel officials planned a December 9th, 2016 presidential daily brief, which is always from the intel community for the president, letting him know what's happening in the world. They planned a PDB that would say, foreign adversaries, quoting here, foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks on election infrastructure to alter the U.S. president.
Megyn didn't waste a heartbeat. She went in like a surgeon, running on caffeine and spite. Watching her carve up Obama's post-presidency brand was like seeing someone pop a designer balloon with a rusty fork. Messy, deliberate, and oddly satisfying. She went straight for the all-you-can-eat hypocrisy buffet open 24/7, serving heaping portions of rules for thee, not for me. From climate change sermons delivered between private jet flights to democracy lectures, while schmoozing big tech billionaires, the irony wasn't just thick, it was dripping down his collar.
There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't.
Gabbard got her hands on a House intel report that's been locked away in a...
Jesse swooped in like a hawk, spotting a self-righteous ex-president standing in a wide-open field of contradictions. Without so much as a blink, he cracked open a greatest hits dossier of Obama hypocrisy. Remember, when the man accepted a Nobel Peace Prize while green drone strikes like it was Call of Duty, Jesse didn't let that one slide in his version. The Nobel Committee should have handed him a joystick and a Best Multiplayer Killstreak trophy, and yet, Obama still plays the regular citizen Carta man of the people, humble and relatable except for those $100,000 speeches. NETFLIX deals the size of small nation GDPs and birthday parties that make royal weddings look like backyard barbecues. Megyn nearly laughed out loud. She didn't need to say it. Her face screamed, nothing says modest like a guest list that could crash the NASDAQ. The 2016 election baggage doesn't help either. Just hearing that year is like garlic to the credibility vampire that is the political elite. Suddenly, every insider's memory goes blank, but the rest of us remember. And Megyn and Jesse, they're not in the business of letting scandals sleep. They're the type to show up at the bonfire with a gas can in one hand and a marshmallow.
Be clear, earlier this week, I actually wrote this down. I rarely write down what I'm going to say, but I just didn't want to forget it because there's so many moving parts. We learned that intelligence community assessment of January 17 was set to downplay Russian interference in the 16 election. And then after a meeting with Obama and the top intelligence community officials, or at Obama's direction at least, the intelligence community did a complete 180 and played up Russian interference instead of...
Didn't stop at the 2016 treason. Talk that was just the appetizer. What followed was a 10-course feast of irony and ego. Megyn Kelly dug into Obama's favorite prop, his legacy, the way a jeweler examines a tarnished trophy. She reminded everyone how his signature achievement, Obamacare, promised a healthcare revolution but delivered a national migraine. Millions were left squinting at bronze, silver, and gold plans like they were deciphering an ancient code. Obama still speaks of it like it was medical salvation. In Jesse's version, it was more like handing someone a Band-Aid and billing them for brain surgery. Then came the border. Let's not pretend those infamous cages magically appeared in 2017, they were sketched and built years before. Jesse made sure that memo didn't get lost in history's spam folder. And the media. Under Obama, they weren't just friendly, they were on payroll in spirit. Scandal after scandal slid right off him like he was coated in political Teflon. Fast and furious IRS targeting, Benghazi, those weren't blips, they were air raid sirens. But instead of answering tough questions, Obama was too busy slow jamming the news with late night hosts. Grinning through.
So Michelle didn't like Barack for 10 years? Well, join the club. We didn't like him for 8. So Michelle hated being first lady, always in the shadow of the president. But now she's in charge and she's only letting Obama out of the house to do one thing, cry about Fox.
What about this country keeps you up at night?
The thing that I'm most worried about is the degree to which we now have a divided conversation, in part.
And then there's his relentless obsession with staying in the spotlight. The Netflix documentaries, the curated Spotify playlists, the endless self-referential interviews. It's like he skimmed one think piece about millennials and decided to rebrand himself as a lifestyle influencer instead of a former president. Jesse didn't even need a punchline. Just the mental image of Obama in aviators, handing out life advice on a podcast, was enough material for 3 comedy segments. It's hard to take lectures on income inequality from someone wearing suits. That costs more than a semester of college. Maybe he thinks it's inspirational. Maybe he still believes he's the main character, but for most people now, it feels like tired fan service. And then there was that infamous portrait unveiling, the one where he posed beside his own face like a man deeply in love with his reflection. Jesse brought it up like a sitcom callback, because only Obama could turn a government ceremony into a personal brand moment. That wasn't patriotism, was performance art, served with a side of ego salad.
The post he put out to celebrate her birthday.
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
her birthday or their anniversary?
Yeah,
He chose the least attractive photo of her that's ever been released. I mean, this is just wrong. Michelle Obama can look very nice in a photograph. This ain't it. She's got the kerchief on her head. They're about 20 feet apart in this intimate dinner. And he looks great. This is classic, right? Like, he's like, this is a great picture. He's got the 1,000-watt smile.
Even his speeches now feel like political reruns, always polished, always elegant, but underneath it's just reheated leftovers. Hope, change, unity. At this point, you could build an Obama speech generator and pump out TED Talk-ready soundbites on demand. Megyn joked they should package them as fortune cookies at overpriced coastal cafes, each one containing a vague, profound-sounding call to action that dissolves into nothing the second you think about it. Jesse just smirked and said, "Watching Obama navigate today's politics is like watching someone try to update their MySpace page in 2025. Outdated, unnecessary, and a little painful to watch." And then came the foreign policy greatest hits. Jesse rattled off the countries that got the Obama diplomacy special: lofty speeches, red lines drawn in invisible ink, and drone strikes with more unintended consequences than a bad pharmaceutical ad. Somewhere, the Nobel Peace Prize Committee is probably still wondering if they can ask for a
hot air from Barack because he couldn't care less about the environment. This weekend, the former president was in LA grabbing a bite to eat with his daughters, and obviously at a very trendy restaurant. While the Obamas dined on $20 sushi rolls, their SUV sat idling outside, just spewing pollution into the air, idling for hours. Check out the video from the Daily Mail showing Barry just casually strolling out of the restaurant, not a care in the world, before jumping into the SUV. What happened? I thought Barry loved the environment. That doesn't look like a guy who cares about his footprint too much. And it certainly doesn't look like the guy.
Megyn lost it when she hit the part about Obama warning against misinformation. While flanked by Silicon Valley billionaires who treat newspapers like baseball cards, that's Dracula lecturing you on blood pressure. Here's a man decrying echo chambers from inside a sealed, algorithm-polished luxury bunker. His public appearances are so managed you'd never catch him under real scrutiny, just selfies and slow tarmac strolls. Jesse joked that Volume 3 of his memoirs might just be Spotify playlists with mood notes. Track 5, play during a drone strike in Yemen. Conflicted, but chill vibes overall. Megyn closed with a smirk. Obama is still the only former president who makes aloofness look like a virtue. But pull back the curtain and you don't find a sage, you find a celebrity reading a script. A master of solemn nods and recycled taglines. A man who ages like fine wine while his decisions age like unrefrigerated yogurt. And that low hum in the background, the Obamagate whisper, getting louder.
Here he is alone at the Trump inauguration, which really was, it was stark. All these former presidents came in with their wives, and then there he was.
It was jarring.
All alone. It was jarring, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, just the spectacle of it all.
Got to spend a minute on the Obamas, because there seems to be some momentum picking up in the rumor mill about their marriage. All right, I'm going to bring you what I know.
People aren't dumb, and neither are Megyn and Jesse. While the mainstream treats the topic like Voldemort in a press release, the whispers keep leaking out. The connections, the flights, the names. No one struck a match yet, but the air reeks of gasoline. Sure, Obama still has his loyal fan base. He can still pack theaters with TED Talk light monologues and smooth jazz podcast banter. But while he's busy curating another think piece, or handpicking a Spotify track to signal depth, the world keeps remembering the inconvenient truths he hoped would stay buried under a layer of eloquence. The presidential pedestal is now just a platform for legacy with reruns of speeches that aged like unrefrigerated milk, the halos slipping, the script is fraying, and the myth of flawless leadership is being poked full of holes by some of the same people who once cheered. Megyn and Jesse didn't just roast him, they tore back the curtain. What's left isn't a monument. It's a monument-themed stand, waiting for one last spotlight before the Obama encore fades to black.